Hey everyone. Basically, I just want to give a little update to this video. What I've ended up doing in my, infinite wisdom is go ahead and only start filming after I've dropped the rear subframe and done work on the front of the car. And this obviously means that we're picking up with work done on the rear. I'll add a few videos going on with whatever work's been done on the front. And just, there'll be a continuation of the work after this. Basically, just a little heads up on what brought this all along is the car was handling rather badly, just twitchy over bumps, things like that. And I decided, let's go get it aligned. Turns out, can't get it aligned. The bolts are all rusted, bushes are perished. The alignment shop just said they wouldn't even touch it because they were just afraid the bolts would end up snapping. So, long story short, I decided, you know what? Let's, refurb the subframe, new bushes, see if the bolts are any good, get them clean, maybe zinc coated, we'll go along that line, get there when we get there kind of thing. And, you start looking for more problems as you're there and notice a little bit of rust here and a little more there, and it ends up turning into what you'll see now is an entire underbody refurb of the entire car, front and back, because I just found rust spots, little here, little there, just bits of surface rust, but if left alone, it'll eventually get to something big. And that brings me on to this video that you're about to watch, taking on some rust on the rear of the car. So enjoy, and I'll let me from the past week fill you in on what's happening. Enjoy. Hey everyone, so it's day 3 of underbody work on the Supra, and finally the weather's at a usable state because I can't fit anything in the garage, so the Supra has to sit outside. And let me take you along for a little self-torture session I got for today. So basically, this is what I covered last time. Pulled all the metal back all the way down and along. You can see the little rust spots here. I had to actually pull back the undercoating quite a bit on the car to actually expose the rust and make sure I got the clean metal so I could actually treat the rust all the way down. And even inside, I'll actually focus a bit there, but as you can see, I've still got all this to do inside. That was not going to be fun. And then the other side. So one of the major problems I've had is... oh, yeah, I've got to tackle that as well. And that's going to be great. One of the major problems I've noticed, though, is on the original seam sealer. Besides bits flaking off here, what I'm getting is along the seams, you'll actually notice little brown bits here. And that's where the rust is starting to come through. You can't see it very well on the camera, but with your eye you can. And when I pull that back, you actually notice rust starting on the actual seams. Just a little bit of surface rust, but that will eventually carry on and rot through if not taken care of. So yeah, that's a can of worms I've opened. I've got to essentially tackle all of this. So that's my little self-torture session I've got planned today. In and amongst that, I've still got to do the other wheel well. I'm waiting on the seam sealer to come, so I can actually reseal everything that I've primed up on the front. The front actually looks rather good. So yeah, what I did on the rear there, you can see I actually hit it with some rust converter, instead of the rust converter primer that I've been using. That's what I use on the front. I'll use it on the back as well. But I did get just a normal rust converter, and that's what I used on the rear. And that's actually worked really well on neutralizing the rust. So I'm definitely gonna just hit the rear with that just as a good second case measure, because the rear is so prone to rusting. So make sure it doesn't come back. Coat it, prime it, underseal it, and then essentially bed liner it, because that's what's going on underneath. Once everything's all seam sealed again, it's going to get bed lined to make sure that it's completely weatherproof and the rust never comes back. So yeah, and then after that I've got to finish taking the subframe apart. Yeah, that's existential dread on my face right now.
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. It's crazy.
Alright, so as you can see, I've brought the rest of the metal down to actual clean metal along the inside. Two little spot welds over here and here. So give me that brown discoloration through the seam sealer there as well. And the seam sealer still cracking there. I've got to just pull it back a little further up there and see whether the metal's good behind there. Because as you see, I've had to pull quite a bit of actual metal down before I got to good metal here behind the base primer. It looks fine on the surface until you start digging and you actually realize how far the rust was starting to spread into the actual metalwork. This here I'm just going to pull back a little more just to make sure the metal's clean. And then this as well. The rest of it's all good. And I tackled this a little more off camera as well. And scuffed the entire wheel well. I just need to finish scuffing all this. Just get rid of the little bits of tire that are still in there. Little bits of rubber. A little too much fun with center pod. And yeah. But not so fun, but cleaning cleaning the rubber off the inside it's not so much fun. So bring you guys along for the journey. Let's start by tackling this. And then we'll scuff the rest of it up and get it all ready for paint before we move on to the rest of it. Yeah.
The night has come, it's cold and losing my control. Your light is gone, and lonely darkness fill my soul. I wish that you could save me from my isolation. It's way too complicated. Let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation. We got no relation. It's crazy.
Alright, so now I've got the rest of it all scuffed up, masked off, all around the edges. I'm not too worried about any sort of overspray here because this is all going to have to get pulled back further here as well. But in the meantime, it can get a little overspray on it while I finish all this up, because it's time to seal the newly cleaned metal before any sort of weather comes, because hey, I don't have a garage to stuck the car in, so.
Fireflies in the sky, and they're coming down and hit the ground now. Run around, chase all my dreams. Will you come with me tonight? Be my firefly, my firefly, my firefly tonight. Yeah, come with me, firefly, my firefly, my firefly tonight. Yeah, come with me.
And big reveal time. There we go. All the metal is properly primed up now. Protected. So as soon as the seam sealer comes in, I can fill in all these little gaps here. Do the seams there. Fix everything up there. And even there where a little bit of rust was. The primer's still drying a bit there. But overall, a much better finish. Some of it's still drying, so I'm going to leave it to do that. But yeah, overall, very pleased with that result. Kind of ridiculous it took a good maybe 5 minutes just to paint this, but a good day to pull all the bad metal and primer and rust, just everything off. Now comes the actual fun. I'm going to finish it all off, get the subframe in here, because I've still got everything back here to do. And through the center, and the other wheel will. Well, the other wheel will be tomorrow's problem. And then I suppose the middle will be Thursday's problem. If it doesn't rain. Let's hope it doesn't rain. Actually enjoying making some progress here. What I'm going to quickly do is just everything here that's supposed to be silver that I've ground back to get clean metal and get the rust out of here. I'm just going to quickly hit that with a little bit of rust converter just to stop anything happening there. And then I'll hit it with primer afterwards before the actual side air ducts go back in when the car gets reassembled. But yeah, I'll do that off camera. Well, until tomorrow, stay awesome.